Welcome to Renovating the Soul podcast. I am your host, Alexandria Robinson. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for joining me. If you are a returning listener, thank you so much for coming back. I describe this podcast as a podcast from the perspective of a real, regular, well-rounded woman who simply believes in doing the hard work of looking within. I believe that doing the hard work, the soul work, can lead to a more fulfilling, whole, and healthier life. And I'm super excited that we are at episode 5. We are halfway through season 1. And I just want to do a little recap of the episodes, the things that we've talked about so far. So in episode 1, we talked about the soul, why our soul matters, really laying the groundwork for the podcast. And then in episode number 2, I shared a little bit about me, Alexandria, my journey, some of the things that I've been through, but really ultimately why I wanted to do this podcast. And then episode number 3, we covered projecting. Ooh, that was good. That was a heavy topic, but it was good. Projecting and paying attention to the things that we project onto other people and the ways that we've been projected on is very important. And then episode number 4, 2 weeks ago, we talked about Skinny Girls Get Bullied Too, which really dealt with bodily awareness, body image, and again, me telling my story, my perspective of being skinny all of my life and being bullied and teased and taunted for the way that I looked, and the fact that we have to do the fact that looking within, right, defining ourselves from within is how we will define ourselves on the outside, that the outside is not what defines the inside, right? And so those are the episodes that we've done so far. If you have not listened, I encourage you to go back and listen. If you have listened, I encourage you to go back and listen again, jot down some notes. You may hear something that you didn't hear the first time. I really encourage you all to be doing this work outside of these episodes. I don't know what other podcasters do all the way, but my challenge and encouragement is that we start to incorporate these ideas into our daily lives, that we really start to try and do this work and confront our issues head on. And I want to remind you that you're not alone on this journey. I am on this journey with you. So please feel free and please submit questions, comments, your thoughts, ideas. Follow up with me and let me know how I can help you, or what you're thinking, and how these episodes are helping you or how they're not helping you. I'm here to listen to it all. I really do. I want to hear it all, and I want to hear it from everyone. So you can email me, you can leave comments on Spotify, you can message me on social media. However you have to get to me, please do it, because I really want to hear from you all. And so far, thank you all for the feedback, for the people that are sharing the podcast, for the people that are sending it to their friends and sending me the messages and the things that people are saying. I, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate y'all so much. It makes me just swell up with so many more emotions, and some of that's probably the hormones from the pregnancy, but it really does my heart so good that you all are responding in that way and feeling strong enough to want to send the podcast to people and sharing it with people. And it just really means so much to me. So thank you. So let's jump into episode number 5. Episode number 5, grieving the relationships that we wish we had, or grieving the idea of the relationships that we wish we had. I'm going to start us off reading the quote that inspired this topic, and where I got this idea of grieving relationships from came from a woman named Dr. Sarita Lyons. And in the clip that I saw, there was a young lady in the audience who was asking for advice for women who do not have good relationships with their mother. And so in the clip, Dr. Sarita Lyons says this. She advised that you have to grieve the loss of the mother you wish you had. And in some ways, many of us have to have a homegoing celebration or a funeral in our own hearts and mind for the fantasy mom that I have to bury because she does not exist. She goes on to say, real grieving has to precede your ability to really love, because sometimes we're loving a ghost and we're not loving the actual woman and who she really is. And though her focus in this particular quote was on the relationship between mother and daughter, this can be applied to father and son, or sister and brother, brother and brother, sister and sister, or even to friends, right? You can insert there that you have to have a funeral or a homegoing service in your heart or mind for the fantasy dad or the fantasy sister, right? Because that person does not exist, and that you have to realize that who you're trying to love or who you're trying to build a relationship with from what you've anticipated or expected in your mind does not exist, and that you miss the actual person, who they really are in front of you. This was a mind-blowing moment for me. I was just watching the clip as it popped up on my Instagram feed and, just kind of playing in the background. But when she said that you have to grieve those relationships, I was like, grieve the relationship? Like, what? Grieve the relationship? What does she mean? It was a moment where I didn't fully understand what she was saying, but somehow it felt like that's what's for me. I hope I'm explaining it that way. Like it's a new idea of hearing it in that way, right? It's not a new idea to say let go of or get rid of or move past these ideas that you had, and I've heard that a lot. But to hear someone say that you have to grieve that relationship, especially when grief is associated by definition with death, to hear someone say that you have to grieve live people and like active relationships and people who are in your life was just like, oh my gosh, maybe this is what I've been missing. Maybe this will help me to move past all of this bitterness and anger that I have because the relationships I want to be a certain way are not what I thought that they would be. The relationships that I grew up thinking would turn and we would be so close and we'd have this stellar relationship where we can talk and you support me and I support you, that maybe this is what I need to do in order to really move on and move forward and not continue to hold people to a standard that they can never live up to, and not to continue to leave myself in shackles in emotional relational shackles. And I know today is Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. We're not talking about romantic relationships. You can take a sigh of relief, because I'm sure we're all, well, not all, but I know I get tired of the oversaturation of Valentine's Day, and I just try not to take it too seriously. I just think it's a little overblown. It's been overblown, right? And ever since we had social media and all this stuff, I think they just blow up some of these holidays, which again can insert more pain, because you're looking at people who have these seemingly good and healthy relationships and wondering like, what's wrong with me, or why can't I have those? But it's always good to be reminded that you never know what's going on behind closed doors, and most people are overcompensating, whether it be for attention or whether it be for that person even in their life, right? I just choose not to base my relationships on holidays. Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Easter, Christmas, Palm Sunday, Groundhog Day, like whatever it is. I bring up Valentine's Day not just to say like happy Valentine's Day, but also because I know that on days like today and on other holidays, those typically seem to be the times when our relationship struggles with the people around us start to become magnified. And what we might not have felt in a long time, or what we might have suppressed or buried, or what we might have put on reserve because we think that it's going to turn out a certain way, then rises up within us, because now I have to look at other people's relationships, moms and their daughters on Mother's Day, dads and their fathers. Moms and their daughters. dads and their sons, there we go, dads and their sons on Father's Day or Grandparents' Day or Siblings' Day. And y'all cannot stand all these holidays. Like, do not expect a text or acknowledgement from me. I am not going to put my kids through all that because they just made up holidays. It's getting too much, okay? Best friend who wears a yellow sock day. Like, nobody has time for all that. And nobody's keeping up with that. I can barely keep up with my kids' birthdays, okay? So we need to just breathe. But anyways, that's my little side note. But holidays and these, again, whether they're made up and new to many of us or whether they've been around for a long time, like Valentine's Day, Christmas, Thanksgiving, right? And now look, what do we have? Galentine's Day, get together with your girls. Friendsgiving, get together with your friends. And even though we respect and we admire what people have, we also cannot deny that sometimes seeing, not just on social media, because I'd actually know a few of you that are not on social media, but not just on social media, but even with the relationships around us, witnessing and seeing the healthiness of their relationships, or what seems to be healthy, or what even seems to be fun, right, brings up some lack within us. It brings up some feelings within us where we then again have to confront, and I guess we don't have to confront, but you're stirred up with emotions, whether it's jealousy, whether it's frustration, whether it's, again, feeling that emptiness because I wish I had this. And if you're older, and if you're like me, you've held out for a long time thinking it's going to change, it's going to get better, we're going to get there, they're going to come around. Like you've been waiting and anticipating and wanting and desiring, and now you get to this place, at least for me, like when I heard this quote, I was really in a place that it was on my mind more consistently and more constantly. And it wasn't just on my mind, but it was really affecting my moods. It was really causing a lot of sadness and regret and resentment and questioning. Why do I have this person? Why couldn't I have the healthy, beautiful relationship that I wanted? Like, why does it have to be that I have to look around at all these people and these relationships that I thought after years would finally evolve and grow? Like, why do I have to struggle in this way? Life is already hard, and I'm a huge people person and like huge relationship person. I really thrive off of relationships, and so to reach a place where I'm 32 and I'm nervous about starting new friendships. I don't really have the desire to try and fix mainly family relationships, right? Like I've got to the place where I said, okay, I probably should accept what it is, accept who they are, but it's easier said than done. I was able to say it. I don't think that I really did it. And I know I didn't do it because of the way I would feel. I know that I wasn't in a healthy place with it because of how I would respond to that person or to whoever it was in my life that I felt like I wish I had a better relationship with. I'd be hot, then I'd be cold. I'd be really frustrated with them, angry. I don't really want to interact, right? Like all of these emotions would put up this wall, and that showed me that, hey, you're not over this. You say that you have to let go. You said that you need to accept who they are. You said that you need to accept that you can't choose a different parent, or you can't choose a different sibling, or you can't choose a different, family member, or whatever, right? Like you say these things, but then your feelings, even sometimes sporadically and not on a holiday, just on a regular old Tuesday at 2 in the afternoon, a memory, a thought, right? Something comes up and you realize, man, I am still hurting so much. Like it hurts to have to acknowledge it, but I think it hurts more to have to accept it. And that's the idea behind the grieving process. And I know that you can look up online and see like the grieving process for when someone dies, and I'm sure we can easily apply it. I don't want to get into that, but I do want to read the definition of grief. It is deep sorrow, and of course, that typically applies to death. But here we're talking about the deep sorrow that we feel from the lack of not having those relationships, or from the relationships that we wish we had. It's one thing to never have experienced a certain type of relationship, and then it's another thing to have that person present and alive and almost feel as if it's no different than them being gone, right? Or that it almost feels like there's no difference in having that person or not. That kind of sucks, because everyone, especially on those holidays, they tell you to like cherish those people, and even if it's your significant other, right? On Valentine's Day, there are couples who have lost their spouses. There on Mother's Day, daughters who have lost moms, and dads who have lost dads. I'm sorry, men. I keep doing that. Men who have lost dads, and you'll hear them say, like, be thankful that you have your mom. Be thankful that you have your dad. Be thankful that you have your brother or your spouse, or be thankful that you have a friend. And while you can acknowledge that that's true, that yes, we should cherish and value these people, it also doesn't resonate if you don't have the relationship you wanted, or you don't have the relationship that you wanted to have. Yeah, I just said that. Yeah, so if you don't have the relationship that you wanted, or the relationship that you thought you had, there we go. And so when we're talking about grief, I saw this thing online where it was saying like there's a difference between just having grief and grieving. And I could see that, grief, you feel the deep sorrow, but we're saying that we're grieving these relationships because there's an action to it. There's a process to it. That we don't just stop, like, you don't be like me and stop just at the deep sorrow, but you move past. And when I say move past, I don't mean like you get past the feelings of it, but you take it a step further, that with my deep sorrow, I'm now going to process why that is. With the deep sorrow, I'm going to look at what has been keeping me back from not acknowledging and accepting the relationship or the person as is. With grieving, right, I'm going to acknowledge what this has done to me. I'm going to pay attention to how I respond. I'm going to accept who they are, and I'm going to keep doing that. And as I mentioned, the same thing that happens when you're grieving something or someone is it could hit you out of nowhere like a ton of bricks. My grandpa died a few years ago, and it took a long time for it, and still it happens, but it took a long time for every little thing not to be a reminder of him. And even now, I'll smell something, or like we went to the Pike Place Market in Seattle, and they had these honey sticks, and instant memory came back. My grandpa used to keep honey sticks in his office, and so we used to go on Sunday mornings into his office and ask for the honey sticks, and he would cut them for us, and we would tear those honey sticks up, right? So it's like you could be anywhere, and these memories flood you. But again, I don't want to say that it's harder when someone is alive, but it is, there's a different feeling that comes from it that I don't know if I can describe. Maybe one of y'all could help me and tell me if you could resonate with what I'm saying. But it's one thing to know, like, okay, grandpa's gone, that opportunity is it's gone. Like it's one thing to say grandpa's gone, but it's another thing if grandpa was here and I still have to grieve that me and grandpa don't have the relationship that I wanted to have. I don't know. I'm trying to make that make sense, because it's one thing to be at the market and to see the honey sticks and to say, wow, I really miss grandpa, like he's gone. But it's another thing to be out, right? And let me see, what can I use as an example? I don't have a sister, so I'm going to use it as an example. It's another thing to be out and to see sisters together and to look at them and go, wow, look at those sisters. And then be like, yeah, my sister's living, but our relationship is just not what I thought it was going to be. It's strained for whatever reason, or we had this falling out, or, I can't admit this, or she can't admit this, or whatever it is. Like, again, it's one thing to grieve the people who have gone on, but it's just a different, and I don't know what to call it, but it's just a different feeling to grieve the people who are still around you, that you still have to sometimes interact with. Some of us still sometimes have to interact with. Or for me, I'll talk about some of the relationships that I grieve, because I don't feel it's fair to ask you all to do this stuff and me not be able to admit in a very real way instead of using all these hypotheticals. One of the relationships that I have to grieve, and why that quote, or why the reel resonated with me so much, was because I have had to, and I am trying to grieve the relationship with my mom. I always thought that I would have a totally different relationship with my mom, and more maybe like TV. Maybe that's my fault. But I've just always expected that we would have this really close dynamic, and I just expected that it would be different, to be honest. I really just expected that I would have a different kind of relationship with my mom. And not just my mom, but a lot of the women in my life. Like I said, I'm a people person, and I've always had like women mentors, but all of the women that I used to hang out with when I was younger, they've all, I don't want to say I lost them all, but they were maybe in their early 20s, mid 20s when they were around me as a little girl, and then they have to grow up. But that's not a process that as a little girl I was able to understand. So it really just felt like everyone kept leaving me. It really just felt like, man, she was in my life and now she's out. But then on top of that, not just with those people who you kind of expect to come and go, to be in such a big family like mine, where I don't know if I've mentioned this, but aunts and uncles on both sides of my family, and all of this family, and all of these relationships that you have, and you expect that I expected that we would be closer, that we would share, that we would help, that they would help me as a young girl coming up, that they would be there and be that helping hand. Instead, I don't feel like I could have a conversation and truly share who I am at this stage in my life, or the things that I'm going through. And there are those relationships I haven't grieved, but I have accepted that that's okay. I have said, like, that's okay. Me and my aunts are not going to be as close as I thought we were going to be. And we don't have the relationship where I call them and say, let me tell you about this. Or I text them and say, whatever it is. Like, I don't have that. That's okay. I've accepted that. But when it comes to a relationship like the one with my mom, I've really been holding out for years to have this kind of like close-knit relationship where I'm able to tell you about all the girl things, and we, talk about, whatever. I'm a girly girl, and I am, so we talk about and obviously not now because I'm married, but back in the day, like, we talk about the guys, and we talk about dating, and we talk about the do's and the don'ts, and just, all of these things. But that wasn't the case. My dad talked more with me about boys and what not to do, and, all of those things than I did with my mom. And so when I heard that quote, I was like, not only do I need to grieve relationships, but I need to grieve the exact relationship that she was talking about in this video, and it is extremely difficult. It is extremely hard, because I'm not inviting her or anyone else into the grieving process. I'm not going to have a conversation to sit down with them and say, I'm going to grieve our relationship now. No, I have to do that on my own. I have to accept where the relationship is, and as Dr. Lyon said, who she is, so that I'm not loving a ghost, so that I'm not trying to love this imaginary person and then getting frustrated and upset when I am in the presence of who she really is, right? Because I'm only frustrating myself by trying to keep up this ideal that I had in my mind. And again, it brings up so many emotions within us. I'm going to close our time with this story from Psychology Today, and I want to read the exact quote, and then I want to share the end piece. So the quotes that from this article said, grieving in this different way can be more challenging to an extent because it puts you in control of deciding and accepting the finality of things. Death has not forced acceptance of a loss on you. You have to do the work of death and move towards acceptance that what you dream of may and likely will never come. She's saying that, or he, I think it was a she that wrote the article, but she's saying that, like I was saying earlier with my grandpa, yeah, I know he's dead. I don't necessarily have to move towards accepting that, though. I have a little bit of a longer time to kind of move towards accepting, and it's been a few years, so I have accepted that. But in the beginning, it was like, I don't want to believe he's gone. You know, it was hard. You know, you're showing up to family events, and I'm like, where is grandpa, right? But when you have to grieve the relationships that are around you, the people who are living, you have to move past the stage of death and to acceptance, or else you have to move on towards acceptance, to accept the fact that what you were dreaming of, what you wanted, is likely not going to come true. It's not saying that you're like speeding up the process, but I do agree that it's a little more challenging because, again, I'm in control of this. I have to say that this is it, that you have to accept this, or else you're going to continue to keep living in this fantasy land, in this fantasy realm, and it could hinder my growth, my progress. It could hinder your growth, your progress. And that's what the story that she tells, that I'm going to sum up, is that she had a client that was struggling to move on because of the relationship he had with his dad. And his dad, they had, can't remember if the dad was abusive or if the son was abused, but the dad would not accept the fact that the son was abused, or that, he kind of, as a parent, let it happen and didn't want to believe that it happened. And so the son realized that he was stunting his progress because he was waiting on an apology, an acceptance, and an acknowledgement of his pain from his dad. And so his own growth and progress is being stunted because he's waiting for all of these things to happen with his father and this relationship to come back together, only to realize that it would ultimately not come, or it's likely that it's not going to come. And it wasn't until the young man realized that he was putting conditions on his healing, and that those conditions were actually in the control of his father, that he realized that he had to start to change. He had to realize that the dream was dead, and that asking things of the dead was not going to produce results. And I just love that she says that like that asking things of the dead is not going to produce results. Some of our dreams, some of our ideals, let me say it like this, some of our dream relationships, some of our ideal relationships, even if it's not your family, the friendships that we're still waiting for. We're waiting to have the Galentine's girls, or we're waiting to have our what is it called? Bro homies, bromances. There we go. Have our bromances, right? Where we're waiting for those people that just we click with and we get and we're locked in and we can work through difficult situations. Because I'm also not saying that you just want friendships where you're going to the mall and we're buddy buddy and we go to the games, but that you want people that you could truly do life with, people that can stand the test of time, people that you can tell the truth to and say, hey, I didn't really like that, and they can say the same to you and you're like, yeah, me neither, but we're still good. You don't gotta just stop talking to me. Or you can be honest, right? You can call them out, right? And they're not tripping all of a sudden. Like, that's me too. I've always desired relationships, like friendships like that, right? And so what it's saying is that some of these relationships, these friendships in our mind, be it family, be it other people, are dead. The dream is dead. And that asking things of the dead is not going to produce results. I'm not saying that this will never come, but you have to remember that it's not just you asking something from you that you know you could give them. You're asking something from someone whose mind is probably on something else, whose life is probably in a completely different area or position than what they can give you. And that's what I had to realize about even with me and my mom, that, you know, she didn't have the relationship with her mom that would produce a relationship that I wanted with her. And because I don't know how to drive that relationship, because I'm expecting that it come from the mom to the daughter, I put these expectations on her that she could never deliver. I was seemingly loving a ghost. Like I'm trying to be in a relationship with someone who truly doesn't exist, instead of looking at who she is, right? What she's been through, her life, and saying, you know what? This is our relationship. This is what it's going to be. I'm going to grieve the fact that this relationship will never be what I want it to be. I have to. You have to. Because the unhealthy side of this is that we then hinder our own growth, our own progress. We hinder moving forward. We hinder, like we'll wait. We will wait. But not only that, we will change. I watch so many men who either had dads that they didn't have a good relationship and don't have a really good relationship with, or did not have dads. But I actually know quite a few men who have fathers who are not in their lives, and I watch them overcompensate so much. I watch them beat themselves up because they don't know how to be the dad that they want to be, instead of just getting in there and loving your kids, being who you want to be. The unhealthy side of it is that we then start to act out on this lack that we feel. And then sometimes we want to keep the relationship with this person so bad that we'll keep the abuse. We'll let it be toxic. We'll let them talk about us. We'll walk on eggshells. We'll do whatever we can because we want to keep what we have. Like I said, we want to keep wearing that grief. We want to keep wearing the sadness, whatever it is, as a blanket. It's become a comfort to us, instead of us having to realize that it's actually endangering us. That the blanket really isn't a blanket. It's like it's a net. It's a trap. That I'm keeping myself trapped in an emotional bondage and an emotional turmoil because I cannot let go of the idea of the relationship that I wanted. We will come back to talk about this more. This won't be our last time, but I wanted to at least introduce this and at least give something different on Valentine's Day. Like I said, like talk about relationships, but I don't want to talk about romantic relationships or give you guys 10 Valentine's Day tips or even talk about marriage. But I do want us to know that relationships, this is important because relationships play a huge role in all of our lives. And I do stand by the fact that having healthy relationships is really important, and that people should choose people over some of their hobbies or over some of these dreams or these goals that they have. That having a healthy relationship with your mom and your dad or your siblings or whoever it may be, having healthy friendships is so vital to our living. It's so vital to the things that we do, because you get to learn from other people. You get to spend time from other people. Like, life is more than just making money and going out and partying all the time. Like, life is more than just the shallow things, that we can have a life where we're growing, but not just by ourselves, that we're growing with other people, that we get to be on this journey together. But also on this soul journey, there has to come an acknowledgement that some of us may end up alone for a while. because not everyone around us and not all of the relationships around us are conducive to growth. Some people in some relationships are going to choose to remain stagnant because they don't want to do the hard work that you and I are doing of looking within the soul and evaluating what we're going through and what we're experiencing. And that is also something that, we have to acknowledge on this journey. So I wanted to catch us up front because it gets lonely. You come and you're really excited about the work that you're doing, but people aren't as excited and they're not changing and they're shunning you and they're acting weird. And then you have to enter this process of losing people or whatever, and then enters this next step of like grieving these relationships, something that you may not have known or may not have put a name on it. But at some point in a lot of our journeys, we have to face this idea of letting go of the ideas and the I know I said that twice, but like we have to face the fact, that we have to let go of the idea of the relationships we thought we would have, or the idea of the relationships that we wanted. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your feedback on this. What do you think about it? Tell me, just what do you think about it? Like I said, this is a process for me. I am a work in progress when it comes to this. I am not perfect. I'm struggling as we speak because it's very hard to have to let go of that grief. It's really hard to have to let go of the fantasy because I'm naturally optimistic and I want these relationships so bad, and I want those people to be healthy, and I want them to be on this journey, and I want to have someone to laugh with and kiki with and be able to tell my struggles with, but then also have fun with, like, and not having that just makes you feel like you're lacking something. It makes you feel there's an emptiness inside. But I don't want to feel empty forever. That's why I'd rather confront this now and deal with it. I don't want to feel empty forever, and I don't want to neglect the people that I do have, my husband, my children, right? I don't want to neglect the relationships that I can build from. I don't want to miss what's in front of me because I'm looking at what I don't have. I don't even want to continue to sabotage or put people in a place that they can't be, or put expectations on people that the things that they can never give me, to the point where I treat them so bad because they're not who I want them to be. I just don't want to keep making those mistakes and living in that way. So I'd rather confront it now. But it's hard. It is hard. But as I always say, I'm here with y'all. I want to hear you guys' thoughts on this. I hope you do have a happy Valentine's Day. Do something nice for yourself. Get you some chocolate, a donut, whatever it is that you like. And if it's hard for you, stay off of social media. Don't watch the movies. Love on yourself, and just know that, like, life is more than these holidays. Life is more than Valentine's Day. And a lot of these couples that you see posting all these pictures ain't really happy. Okay. So just love on yourself. Have a good day, and let me know what you think about this. And until next time, let's keep doing the work, y'all, to renovate the soul.